few comedies have dared to mock Hollywood as ruthlessly as Tropic Thunder. When the film hit theaters in 2008, it didn't just satirize war movies. It took aim at actor egos, studio greed, and the absurdity of the entire industry. Audiences were shocked, debates erupted, and somehow the film became a cult classic that still feels dangerous today. But the real story happened behind the cameras. The production was filled with last-minute casting changes, physical injuries, and creative gambles that nearly derailed everything. These secrets reveal how chaos and genius collided to create something unforgettable, starting with an idea that was born decades earlier on a completely different film set. Number 1. A war movie idea born on another set. Long before cameras rolled on this outrageous satire, the concept was taking shape in the mind of a young actor working on a very different kind of war film. Back in 1987, Ben Stiller landed a small role in Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun. On that prestigious set, he noticed something that stuck with him for years. Actors constantly one-upping each other with stories about their intense preparation and emotional commitment to playing soldiers. The exaggeration fascinated Stiller. He watched performers talk about their war experiences as if they had actually lived through combat, when in reality they were simply making a movie. This disconnect between Hollywood's self-seriousness and actual reality planted a seed. What if someone made a film that mocked this exact phenomenon? Actors so lost in their own importance that they couldn't see how ridiculous they had become. That idea would simmer for nearly 2 decades. Stiller carried the concept through his rise as a comedian and director, slowly developing what would eventually become one of the sharpest Hollywood satires ever made. The journey from that Spielberg set to the jungles of Tropic Thunder took patience, but the original inspiration never faded. Number 2. The actor who helped write the film. Great satire requires an insider's perspective, and this production found exactly that in an unexpected collaborator. Justin Theroux, known primarily as an actor at the time, joined Ben Stiller as a co-writer on the project. His presence behind the keyboard would prove essential to making the comedy feel authentic rather than like an outsider's guess at Hollywood behavior. Theroux brought years of experience navigating auditions, egos, and the strange rituals actors perform in pursuit of credibility. He understood the specific language performers use when discussing their craft. The pretentious vocabulary, the exaggerated reverence for the work, and the subtle competition that exists even among friends. This knowledge sharpened every joke and made the dialogue ring true. His contribution wasn't a simple punch-up or consultation. Theroux worked as a full creative partner, helping shape characters, scenes, and the overall satirical tone. The collaboration gave the film a level of insider authenticity that audiences could feel even if they couldn't identify exactly why the humor landed so perfectly. Number 3. The script changed everything midway. Early versions of the story looked almost nothing like what eventually reached theaters. The original concept focused on actors returning home from a boot camp experience, dealing with fake trauma from their pretend military training. It was a smaller, more contained idea. Funny, but lacking the epic scope that would make the final product memorable. The creative team eventually realized they needed higher stakes. What if instead of fake trauma after filming, the actors faced real danger during production? This pivot transformed the entire project. Suddenly, the satire could operate on multiple levels, mocking war movies, actor egos, and Hollywood's obsession with authenticity all at once while delivering genuine action sequences. This shift made the film far riskier, but infinitely more cinematic. By dropping the actors into an actual conflict they mistakenly believe is staged, the comedy could escalate beyond simple industry jokes. The movie becomes reality concept opened doors for bigger set pieces, higher tension, and a satirical edge that cut much deeper than the original approach ever could have. Number 4. Ben Stiller almost wasn't the lead. The man who spent 2 decades developing this concept nearly handed the starring role to someone else entirely. Stiller originally envisioned himself in a supporting capacity, believing a different actor should carry the film as Tug Speedman. He wanted to focus primarily on directing while letting another performer handle the demanding lead role. Several major names were considered for the washed-up action star desperately seeking award recognition. The search went on for some time, with Stiller meeting various actors who might embody the perfect blend of arrogance and insecurity the character required. However, finding someone willing to mock the industry so directly while also committing to the physical comedy proved difficult. Eventually, Stiller stepped into the role himself. Whether by necessity or creative instinct, His decision to play Tug Speedman shaped the entire film's tone. His performance balanced the absurdity with just enough vulnerability to make audiences care about a character who could easily have been purely despicable. The movie found its center once Stiller committed fully to both sides of the camera. Number 5. Tom Cruise created his own character. One of the film's most unforgettable performances almost didn't exist at all. Le Grossman, the foul-mouthed, aggressive studio executive, wasn't part of the original plan. Tom Cruise came aboard the project and began asking questions about who was actually pulling the strings behind the fictional movie within the movie. His curiosity sparked something unexpected. Cruise wanted to explore the studio perspective, the business side that views actors as products and films as investments. Working with Stiller, he helped develop a character that embodied everything cynical about Hollywood's money-driven machinery. The exaggerated look, balding head, fat suit, hairy hands, was deliberately grotesque, transforming Cruise into someone audiences wouldn't immediately recognize. The collaboration resulted in one of the film's biggest surprises. Cruise threw himself into the role with complete commitment, creating a character so over the top that he somehow circled back to feeling eerily realistic. Studio executives might not literally dance or threaten people so openly, but the underlying mentality Grossman represents hit uncomfortably close to home for industry insiders. Number 6. The boot camp that never happened. Most serious war films put their actors through intense military training before cameras roll. Productions like Saving Private Ryan and Platoon famously subjected their cast to grueling boot camp experiences designed to build camaraderie and physical authenticity. This satire took a completely different approach, one that perfectly matched its comedic sensibility. Instead of hiring drill sergeants and running exhausting exercises, the production focused on social bonding. The cast spent time together in more relaxed settings, getting to know each other as people rather than simulating soldier experiences. This unconventional preparation allowed the actors to develop genuine chemistry without the pretense of military authenticity hanging over them. The decision tied directly into what the film was mocking. Having actors pretend to be hardened soldiers through an actual boot camp would have undermined the satire's central point, that Hollywood performers often take themselves far too seriously. By skipping the traditional preparation, the production stayed true to its comedic mission while still allowing the cast to build the relationships needed for their scenes together. Number 7. A sudden casting crisis. Production timelines in Hollywood rarely go smoothly, but this film faced a particularly difficult challenge when a key role suddenly needed recasting. Owen Wilson had originally been attached to play Rick Peck, the fast-talking agent obsessed with getting his client a TiVo. Shortly before filming began, Wilson had to step away due to a deeply personal situation that required his full attention. The sudden departure left a significant gap in the ensemble cast. Finding a replacement who could match the comedic energy required while also being available on short notice presented a real challenge. Matthew McConaughey stepped into the role, bringing his own unique charm to the character. His laid-back persona actually shifted how the agent came across on screen. What could have derailed production became a seamless transition. McConaughey made the role entirely his own, and audiences never sensed they were watching a last-minute replacement. The real-life circumstances that reshaped the cast remained largely unknown to viewers, who simply enjoyed the comedic chemistry between McConaughey and Ben Stiller without realizing how close it came to looking completely different. Number 8. Downey completely rebuilt his role. The character of Kirk Lazarus underwent a dramatic transformation between the early script drafts and what appeared on screen. Robert Downey Jr. didn't simply accept the role as written, he fundamentally reimagined who this method actor would be. His creative instincts pushed the character into far more daring territory than originally conceived. The original version featured a different accent and overall persona. Downey worked extensively on developing a new approach, studying various performers known for their extreme commitment to roles. He wanted Kirk Lazarus to represent the absolute peak of actorly pretension, someone so dedicated to transformation that he loses all sense of boundaries or self-awareness. His preparation was intense and deliberate. Downey consulted with experts and refined every detail of his performance, from vocal patterns to physical mannerisms. The result was a character walking an incredibly fine line, outrageous enough to be clearly satirical while grounded enough to feel like someone who could actually exist in Hollywood's strangest corners. His reconstruction of the role became the film's most talked about element. Number 9. a cameo shot in just hours. The fake trailers that opened the film required their own mini-productions, complete with guest appearances from recognizable faces. Tobey Maguire's cameo in the Satan's Alley trailer, a parody of prestige Oscar bait films, became one of the most memorable moments, despite being filmed under extremely tight constraints. Maguire had only a small window of availability to shoot his scenes. The production team worked with remarkable efficiency, capturing everything needed in just a few hours. Despite the rushed timeline, nothing about the final product feels hurried or incomplete. The trailer works as both a standalone joke and a perfect setup for understanding Kirk Lazarus's award-chasing mentality. The brief appearance added another layer to the film's satirical approach. By including a major star in such a quick cameo, the production demonstrated that Hollywood insiders understood and appreciated what the movie was doing. Maguire's willingness to mock prestige filmmaking conventions signaled that the satire came from a place of genuine industry knowledge rather than outside criticism. Number 10. Famous comedians turn this down. Finding the right actor for Al Pacino proved surprisingly difficult. The role required someone who could play a rapper-turned-actor, hiding significant personal secrets while also delivering sharp comedic timing. Multiple well-known performers passed on the opportunity before the part finally found its home. The reasons for declining varied among those approached. Some felt uncomfortable with certain aspects of the character's arc, particularly the revelations that emerged later in the story. Others simply didn't connect with the material or had scheduling conflicts. The repeated rejections forced the casting team to keep searching for someone willing to fully commit. Brandon T. Jackson ultimately landed the role and brought exactly the energy it needed. His performance balanced the character's public bravado with private vulnerability in ways that made Al Pacino genuinely sympathetic. The actors who passed missed their chance to be part of something memorable, while Jackson seized the opportunity and delivered work that stood alongside far more established co-stars without ever feeling overshadowed. Number 11. A director based on real chaos. Hollywood history is filled with productions that spiraled completely out of control, and the filmmakers drew heavily from these real disasters. Steve Coogan's character, the overwhelmed director Damien Cockburn, wasn't invented from imagination alone. His panicked behavior and ultimate fate reflected genuine stories from sets where directors lost all authority over their productions. One particular influence loomed large: the legendary chaos surrounding Apocalypse Now. Francis Ford Coppola's troubled shoot in the Philippines became a cautionary tale about what happens when ambition exceeds control. Weather disasters, health emergencies, and cast conflicts turned that production into a years-long nightmare. Elements of Coppola's documented struggles found their way into Cockburn's fictional breakdown. The parody worked because reality had already provided such extreme material. Audiences familiar with behind-the-scenes Hollywood stories recognized the truth beneath the comedy. Coogan played the role with genuine desperation, capturing how quickly a director can lose grip when stars refuse to cooperate and producers demand results. The satire barely needed exaggeration. Actual film history had done most of the work already. Number 12. Jack Black got hurt for comedy. Physical comedy often comes with physical consequences, and one cast member learned this lesson painfully during production. Jack Black suffered a genuine injury while filming that would affect him long after the shoot wrapped. The incident highlighted how demanding the role of Jeff Portnoy actually was beneath its surface-level humor. The injury created complications throughout the remaining production schedule. Black had to work through pain during scenes that required significant physical exertion, particularly those involving his character's intense withdrawal sequences. What appeared effortless on screen actually required considerable determination to complete without showing visible discomfort. His commitment never wavered despite the setback. Black continued delivering the manic energy the role demanded, refusing to let the injury diminish his performance. The final product shows no evidence of the difficulties he faced. Audiences simply see a comedian fully committed to an outrageous character. His willingness to push through demonstrated the kind of dedication the film was simultaneously mocking and requiring from its own cast. Number 13. The jungle was genuinely dangerous. Shooting a comedy in the Hawaiian jungle might sound pleasant compared to typical action movie locations, but the reality proved far more challenging. The remote shooting locations created genuinely hazardous conditions for everyone involved. What was supposed to be a fun production turned into a physically demanding experience that tested the entire crew. Environmental factors created constant problems. The terrain was unforgiving, with difficult access to basic necessities and medical facilities. Cast members dealt with various ailments related to the conditions, insect encounters, heat exhaustion, and the general toll of working in such isolated settings. The crew faced similar challenges while trying to capture footage in unpredictable weather. The irony wasn't lost on anyone involved. A film satirizing the self-seriousness of war movies ended up creating legitimately difficult conditions for its performers. The comedy set became unexpectedly intense, with real physical hardships providing an accidental layer of authenticity. Those jungle scenes carry a certain rawness precisely because the people filming them were genuinely struggling with their surroundings. Number 14. A real Marine shaped the action. Hiring a military advisor for a satire mocking war films might seem contradictory, but the decision proved essential to making the comedy work. The production brought in a genuine military consultant to help stage action sequences with proper technique and realistic movement. Without this authenticity, the jokes wouldn't have landed nearly as effectively. The advisor helped choreograph combat scenes so they looked believable even while being obviously ridiculous. Actors needed to hold weapons correctly, move through jungle terrain convincingly, and execute tactical maneuvers that actual soldiers would recognize. This foundation of realism allowed the absurdity layered on top to contrast sharply and create bigger laughs. Balancing authenticity with humor required careful calibration throughout production. The military consultant understood that his job wasn't creating a genuine war film, but rather helping comedians look competent enough that their incompetence became funnier. When Tug Speedman makes tactical errors, or Kirk Lazarus overcomplicates simple situations, the comedy works because the baseline looks real enough to highlight how badly they're performing. Number 15. Improvised moments made the film. The tightest screenplay still benefits from actors finding unexpected moments in the material. Ben Stiller created an environment where improvisation was welcomed and often incorporated into the final product. Several of the film's most quoted lines emerged not from the script, but from performers following their instincts during takes. Stiller's approach gave his cast permission to experiment. When actors felt a scene could go somewhere unexpected, they had freedom to explore rather than sticking rigidly to written dialogue. This creative latitude meant that performances felt spontaneous and alive rather than rehearsed. The ensemble's chemistry allowed them to play off each other naturally, building bits that nobody had planned. The improvisational energy added a layer of realism to the absurd situations. Characters reacted to each other with the timing and unpredictability of actual conversation rather than scripted exchanges. Audiences sensed this authenticity even without knowing which specific moments came from improvisation. The willingness to capture lightning in bottles during filming gave the comedy an edge that purely scripted approaches rarely achieve. Number 16. The pregnant buffalo no one knew about. Animal actors bring their own unpredictability to any film set, but one particular creature delivered a surprise nobody anticipated. The water buffalo featured in the production arrived carrying a secret. She was pregnant, and none of the handlers realized it until filming was already underway. The discovery created an unexpected situation that became legendary among the crew. Working with the animal required careful adjustments once her condition became known. The production team had to ensure her safety while still capturing the necessary footage. Scenes involving the buffalo needed reconsidering, and handlers monitored her closely throughout the remaining shoot. What started as a standard animal wrangling job turned into something requiring far more attention. The story had a happy ending that became a favorite piece of set trivia. The buffalo gave birth to a healthy calf, creating an unofficial mascot for the production. Cast and crew who witnessed the unexpected arrival carried the memory with them long after filming wrapped. It was the kind of behind-the-scenes moment that never appears on screen but becomes part of a film's lasting mythology. Number 17. The movie wrapped on a fake ad. Final days of shooting typically involve important dramatic scenes or complex action sequences. This production ended on a decidedly different note. The last thing filmed was the Booty Sweat commercial featuring Al Pacino's fictional energy drink brand. The fake advertisement became the unexpected conclusion to months of work. The timing created a strange atmosphere for the cast's final moments together. Instead of an emotional culmination of the main storyline, everyone gathered to shoot what was essentially an elaborate joke. Brandon T. Jackson performed the ridiculous commercial while his co-stars watched, knowing this absurd scene marked the end of their shared experience on the project. The Booty Sweat concept extended beyond the film itself into actual marketing. Promotional cans of the fictional beverage were produced for the movie's release, blurring the line between satire and reality. The joke that closed production opened new promotional opportunities, demonstrating how thoroughly the filmmakers committed to their comedic vision from first shot to last. Number 18. Protests erupted before release. Controversy arrived before audiences even had a chance to see the finished film. Advocacy groups raised serious concerns about specific language and portrayals within the movie, organizing protests outside theaters during the premiere. The satirical intentions behind certain creative choices didn't satisfy everyone, and public demonstrations made headlines alongside reviews. The studio faced difficult decisions about how to respond. Defending artistic intent while acknowledging legitimate concerns required careful navigation. Representatives met with advocacy groups to discuss the issues, though the film itself remained unchanged. The conversations highlighted tensions between creative freedom and social responsibility that continue affecting Hollywood today. Rather than sinking the release, the controversy paradoxically boosted public curiosity. News coverage of the protests introduced the film to audiences who might otherwise have ignored it. People wanted to judge the material themselves rather than accepting secondhand descriptions. The backlash became inseparable from the movie's public identity, transforming it from simple comedy into cultural flashpoint that demanded personal evaluation. Number 19. Downey refused to break character. Method acting became the film's central joke, but one performer took the commitment to extraordinary lengths off camera as well. Robert Downey Jr. maintained his Kirk Lazarus persona throughout production, staying in character even when scenes weren't being filmed. The line between actor and role blurred in ways that both impressed and occasionally confused his colleagues. The dedication extended into unexpected territory after filming concluded. When recording the DVD commentary track, Downey didn't participate as himself. Instead, he provided commentary as Kirk Lazarus discussing the film's creation, a meta layer that perfectly mirrored what the character would actually do. Audiences watching the bonus features got additional performance rather than behind-the-scenes honesty. His approach embodied the exact behavior the movie satirized, while simultaneously elevating it into genuine artistry. By refusing to break character, Downey demonstrated both the absurdity of extreme method acting and its potential power when wielded skillfully. The joke and the craft became inseparable, leaving viewers uncertain where the parody ended and authentic dedication began. Number 20. Cruise insisted on that dance. Les Grossman's aggressive hip-hop dance sequence became one of the film's most iconic moments, but it almost never happened. The scene wasn't written into any script draft. It emerged entirely from Tom Cruise's own creative vision. He approached the filmmakers with the idea and pushed until they agreed to film it. Cruise prepared for the sequence with characteristic intensity. He worked with choreographers to develop moves that felt both ridiculous and strangely impressive. The goal was creating something audiences wouldn't expect from either the character or the actor playing him. Every gesture and expression was calculated to maximize the absurdity while showcasing genuine dancing ability. The result became the scene everyone remembers and shares. Grossman's dance captures something essential about the character: his complete lack of self-awareness combined with absolute confidence. Cruise's insistence on including the moment demonstrated his understanding of what made the role special. Without his creative push, the film would have lost one of its most talked about sequences, and Grossman might have faded into forgettable villain territory. Number 21. The first cut was massive. Assembling a comedy with so many characters and subplots generated enormous amounts of footage. The initial edited version of the film ran far longer than what audiences eventually saw in theaters. Cutting the movie down to a releasable length required difficult decisions about which jokes, scenes, and character moments had to go. Some entire sequences that took days to film ended up on the cutting room floor. The editing process became a crucial creative phase in shaping the final product. Ben Stiller and his team reviewed countless takes and alternate versions of scenes, determining which approaches served the overall story best. Some beloved moments that worked in isolation had to be sacrificed because they disrupted pacing or made the runtime unmanageable. Every minute kept meant another minute lost. The team spent months refining the balance between character development and comedic momentum. The trimming ultimately strengthened the comedy's impact. Tighter pacing meant jokes landed faster, and momentum never stalled. Audiences experienced a lean, efficient satire, rather than an indulgent collection of every funny idea the team generated. The discipline required during editing transformed raw potential into a focused theatrical experience, though fans would later discover deleted material that showed just how much more existed beyond the final cut. Number 22. A comedy that earned Oscar buzz. Award recognition rarely extends to broad comedies, especially ones trafficking in controversial satire. Yet Robert Downey Jr.'s performance managed to cross into serious awards territory, earning nominations that typically go to dramatic work. The campaign to recognize his achievement required an unusual approach given the material involved. Industry veterans couldn't remember the last time such provocative comedy received this level of attention from voting bodies. The studio positioned Downey's work as genuine acting accomplishment rather than simple comedy. His transformation into Kirk Lazarus demanded technical skill, dialect work, physical changes, and emotional range that matched anything in prestige dramas. Voters who looked past the film's outrageous surface found a performance built on craft and risk-taking that deserved acknowledgement. The makeup and prosthetics alone required hours of daily preparation. The recognition marked a rare moment for satirical comedy at major award ceremonies. Downey's nomination validated the artistic ambition beneath the film's provocative exterior. It demonstrated that Academy voters could appreciate work existing outside traditional boundaries when the quality justified attention. The honor remains one of the most surprising nominations in recent memory, cementing the performance's legacy beyond cult comedy appreciation and proving that fearless choices can earn industry respect. Number 23. Released at the wrong time. Summer movie season typically belongs to blockbuster spectacles, not R-rated Hollywood satires. The decision to release in August, traditionally considered a dumping ground for film studios lack confidence in, raised questions about expectations for the project. Industry observers wondered whether the controversial comedy could find an audience during a supposedly weak period. Trade publications questioned the strategy openly in their coverage. The timing proved unexpectedly advantageous. Audiences exhausted by typical summer fare were hungry for something different. The movie offered an alternative to family-friendly franchises and generic action offerings, attracting viewers seeking sharper humor and adult sensibilities. What looked like poor positioning became strategic counter-programming. The film stood out precisely because nothing else like it was playing in multiplexes that month. Box office results exceeded what the August slot typically delivers. The film built momentum through word of mouth as audiences spread enthusiasm for its audacious comedy. Controversy that might have damaged a prestige release actually drove curiosity among the late summer crowd. The supposedly wrong time turned out perfectly right for a movie that defied conventional expectations in every other respect as well. Studios would later study this release as a model for counter-programming success. Number 24. The fake trailers fooled viewers. Opening a comedy with fake movie previews wasn't entirely original, but the execution here set a new standard. The production treated each trailer as a legitimate mini-film requiring its own careful crafting. From Scorcher 6 to The Fatties to Satan's Alley, every fake preview received attention matching actual Hollywood marketing materials. Separate crews worked on these segments with dedicated budgets and shooting schedules. The creative team studied real trailer conventions obsessively. They replicated specific editing rhythms, music cues, and voiceover styles that audiences unconsciously recognize from genuine previews. Some viewers arriving late to screenings reportedly believed they had missed the start and were watching actual coming attractions. The deception was that complete. Even the studio logos and rating cards matched industry standards perfectly. These opening minutes accomplished essential storytelling work beyond simple comedy. Each trailer efficiently established a main character's career and personality before the actual plot began. Audiences understood Tug Speedman's action-star desperation, Jeff Portnoy's lowbrow comedy reliance, and Kirk Lazarus's prestige obsession within seconds. The fake trailers functioned as brilliant exposition disguised as elaborate jokes, setting up everything that followed while generating laughs before the title card even appeared. Number 25. The film quietly mocked its own studio. Beneath the obvious jokes about actors and directors lay a subtler satirical target, the studio system itself. Le Grossman represented more than a single villainous executive. His character embodied the entire machinery of Hollywood business thinking, where art becomes product and creativity serves profit calculations above all else. His explosive phone calls and casual cruelty reflected stories that had circulated through the industry for decades. The satire extended beyond Grossman into smaller details throughout the film. References to branding opportunities, merchandise potential, and demographic targeting appeared consistently. The fictional studio's panic over their troubled production mirrored real conversations happening in boardrooms across the industry. Executives watching the movie might have recognized their own logic reflected uncomfortably on screen. The parody cut close enough to sting. This layer often goes unnoticed during initial viewings. Audiences naturally focus on the more visible comedy targeting performers and their egos. But repeat viewings reveal how thoroughly the film critiques everyone involved in movie making, including the people financing it. The satire spared nobody, which partly explains why it earned respect from industry insiders who appreciated being included in the joke rather than excluded from it. That willingness to mock its own financial backers gave the comedy an integrity that purely safe satires never achieved. Years after its release, Tropic Thunder remains one of Hollywood's boldest experiments in self-mockery, holding up a mirror that reflected the industry's absurdities without flinching. The behind-the-scenes stories prove that creating this satire required as much chaos and commitment as any serious production. From last-minute casting changes to genuine injuries, the journey to the screen was nearly as wild as the fictional disaster depicted in the film itself. If you enjoyed discovering these hidden stories, hit that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes content. Which of these secrets surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below.